And Cyril Ramaphosa says plans are in place to help grieving families in KwaZulu-Natal bury their loved ones. He says they are also looking at ways to help those displaced by the floods. Ramaphosa was speaking at the launch of the ANC's Libsyma campaign in Bloemfontein. For more on this, I'm joined by eNCA's Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who has an update. We'll get to talking about the floods in KZN and the assistance in a moment, Pule. But, you know, when I was reading that the ANC is launching the Libsyma campaign, something clicked and said, you know, I do remember this word from all those years ago. The ANC used to have a Libsyma campaign. We'll get to the floods and the assistance in just a moment. But just tell me about what this campaign is all about. How different is it from the one they had during the years of Thabo Mbeki, for example?
Well, you know, it's not the first of its kind that we've heard, Tilas, just like you've just mentioned right now. But what they're basically saying now is that this will seek to rebuild communities and also seek to renew the party as well as an organization. And this time around, the Libsyma program being launched in the Free State as well as the beginning. It will also be going through countrywide. We do understand that the president believes that this is a step in the right direction for the ANC to rectify and reconnect with some of its members on the ground. And as it is right now, they're speaking about creating jobs. The ANC is speaking about creating jobs. The ANC is speaking about creating service delivery. Remember that just a few weeks ago, the president here again was in the province during the presidential imbizo, where he said that they would rectify some of the challenges that plagued some of the municipalities in the province. Mangaung, notoriously known to us for some of the political infighting that has been taking place, and of course the lack of service delivery at time. And the president believes that this program will be a steer forward in terms of accelerating some of those progressions and trying to ensure that the ANC stamps its footprint in the province by ensuring that there's service delivery and of course attending to the needs of the people on the ground, particularly the issue of addressing unemployment as well.
Yeah, so they're calling it a renewal of the social compact that the ANC has had historically with the people of this country in various communities. So in line with that then, what has President Ramaphosa been saying about the assistance to be afforded to flood victims in KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, what he's basically saying right now is that there will be assistance in terms of helping the affected residents in KwaZulu-Natal by, of course, the tragic deadly floods. He's also commended the people of Mangaung for actually coming forward to donate what they have in the form of food parcels, in the form of clothing. But at the core of this, Tulas, what the president is saying is that on Tuesday, there will be a parliamentary sitting in terms of mapping a way forward as to how, governments can further react and assist some of the affected flood victims. He's of the view that more help is needed. In fact, we do understand that some of the senior members and government office bearers will be deployed to KwaZulu-Natal as well as of from next week to try and ensure how they can further assist some of the affected residents on the ground. But most importantly, he said that more aid is coming in terms of helping the residents who have been affected by the floods, and that he did say that more resources were needed, actually pledging for assistance from some of the community members in Mangaung, saying that whatever they could have to actually assist would actually come in handy, as they were still trying to help those who were affected by the floods in KwaZulu-Natal.
There is assistance that is underway in many, many ways. It's a huge problem. And in some places there will be shortcomings, but we are hoping that we will give as much assistance as possible to help those families who have lost their loved ones to bury their loved ones and to help them get accommodation. And this morning I was talking to Bishop Mpumulwana of the SACC, and he was coming up with other new ideas of how we can enhance the assistance that we can give to our people. And they, as the church leadership, are going to KZN today and will also be there in the next few days. So all help is needed. But
Here's a promise that many will say is not new, the promise of jobs. Of course, President Ramaphosa's flagship economic program, South Africa Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Program, is really his main flagship. And there are a number of other initiatives, including the drive for investment, infrastructure, etc., etc. What exactly did he say today, though, about how this promise of jobs will be realized?
I mean, it is no secret to us that the president says that, the unemployment rate is at a skyrocketing, I think just about 36% sitting there nationally. And while that's the case, you get a feeling that residents and locals are losing, the patience, and they're becoming much more impatient as well with some of what one call rhetoric, messages that have been sent out to them as to what kind of ways would be implemented to create jobs, such as the president saying this campaign will be solidifying, looking as to how programs on the ground which require manpower would actually employ most of these people who are unemployed in Mangaung to get jobs. But, it's different when you speak to locals on the ground. Like I was saying, they believe that this has been the same message that has been said to them throughout, the president's campaigning just around October, November last year while they were preparing for the local government elections. This message was being said before during the presidential imbizo, same message again, and today again, this was the same message. So you get a feeling that they believe that this pattern is just always coming their way, but there isn't any sense of implementation. And this is one, a policy, or rather aspect that's killing the ANC in terms of, implementing on time. And residents believe that they cannot wait any longer and they just want to see change.
We are going to do everything in our ability and power to create jobs. We are going to help our businesses, both here in the local municipality, in the province, and at the national level, to create jobs so that our people can find employment. We are not happy that so many people in our country are not working, and we are doing everything to restructure our economy, to reconstruct it, and to help it to recover so that jobs can be created. And the more we get people into employment, the better it will be for our economy as well.
Lastly, Pule, let's touch on this situation of service delivery. It was a few months ago that the former president of the ANC, Thabo Mbeki, talked about how people don't care about who is the president of the ANC, but care about the road that is a road of potholes in Mangaung. And I'm starting to get the sense that he's becoming more and more influential, not just in terms of, that statement, because that statement is pretty much obvious, but also around this Libsyma campaign and other matters that Thabo Mbeki has brought forward. What has President Ramaphosa said specifically around issues of service delivery, not only in Mangaung, but also broadly in communities?
Tulas, when you actually drive into Mangaung, you actually struggle to enter into some of the communities due to the potholes that are actually quite terrible and, are dangerous to vehicles as well. The president is of the view that this Libsyma campaign will steer service delivery, and he actually has assured residents that, there is measures to be put in place to ensure that they fix the potholes and to ensure that residents can acquire what they need in terms of service delivery. But again, locals believe that this has been one message that has been said before and nothing has been done. In fact, I spoke to one fella earlier on who told me that there wasn't any political will to try and change the situation in Mangaung. I mean, Tulas, I'm sure just a few days ago you saw that video where the city manager was allegedly being chucked out because his contract had come to an end, but he refused to leave office. And those are the kind of things that we're seeing in terms of political infighting. We do know that this is a very same municipality just under administration as well. And, Cocteau National has now come in to intervene to try and see how they can rearrange and, try to restructure this municipality. So those are the kind of situations that this metro finds itself in. And this has a knock-on effect on service delivery. But the president believes with his campaign, actually these challenges can be addressed, and he's of the view that the issue of service of potholes is something that has to be addressed quickly. But this is a very similar message that he gave when he was also in the Northwest during his presidential imbizo in Mahikeng, where potholes there are the cause of the day, and it's quite terrible. And people are waiting still to see whether if this message he's preaching will actually be implemented.
Re batla qala mosebetsi wa letsema re tshwarane matsoho le batho ba heso kaofela bona re qale mosebetsi wa ho lokisa dintho tse sa tsamaeng hantle mo le dulang teng re itse ka shekulena re batla ho kolomaka toropo ena re kolomake toropo re kwale le di-pothole ka bane re itse ha re sheba haholoholo nna ke ile ka re ha ke sheba Mangaung ka November ka nako yane ya dikgetho ka fumana Mangaung ka nnete le maswe wa itse go tletse dipampiri le diplastiki hohle mo ke ileng ka tsamaya teng ka re re tlamehile hore Mangaung re hlatswe re khutlisetse mane mo e ne le teng re etse toropo e re ka ikgantshang ka yona.
All right, thank you for that. That's eNCA's Pule Letshwiti-Jones out in Bloemfontein covering the relaunch, well, a launch, let's call it that, a launch of the Libsyma campaign. I'm calling it a relaunch, of course, because it was around 2002 that former president of the ANC and of the country, Thabo Mbeki, launched the Libsyma campaign. It's interesting times in the ANC. Another idea of his that I'm seeing taking shape has to do with this 3 or 4 day retreat that was first suggested. You remember those leaked recordings from the National Executive Committee meeting? It was first suggested, I think, in that meeting by Thabile Dlamini, and former President Mbeki took a keen interest on it in that leaked audio. Well, he's been punting this idea and saying, what about this retreat? What about this retreat? A few days ago, Pule Mabe of the ANC confirming that, guess what? That retreat is coming. We are going to have that retreat. Just one of the many instances where I believe you should be watching very closely the move of the hand of some of the ANC veterans, Kgalema Motlanthe, former President Thabo Mbeki, etc., etc.